Let's move to our newspapers and see what the newspapers are saying this morning. We're joined this morning to discuss the newspapers by the publisher of CKN News, Christ Kehinde Nwandu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's nice to be here with you this morning.
Okay. Eku reshuffling cabinets and happy hiring and firing.
Eku reshuffle.
Okay, I'm sure that will be a big story that we're talking about, but let's just head straight into the papers this morning and review the front pages. Our first paper this morning is the Daily Times newspaper. Tinubu sacks 5 ministers, and we're seeing he has reassigned 10 to new portfolios. Charges newly appointed ministers, reassigned colleagues to see their employment or their appointment as called to serve Nigeria. President has no basis to scrap Niger Delta Affairs Ministry, says Edwin Clark. ASUP mobilizes lecturers as strike ultimatum expires as more lecturers endorse ASUP National Executive Council's position. Ogun tells residents of flood-prone areas to relocate. CBN's FX backlog clearance boosts Naira stability, says IMF. Federal government urges states to boost climate change resilience. Court orders release of Gambarian from prison as federal government drops criminal charge. Aviation Minister Naime DG orders participate in WMO Aeronautical Meteorology Scientific Conference. And that's all that we have on the front page of the Daily Times. Let's move over to the next paper.
The Daily Trust newspaper is next. It says here, Tinubu sacks 6 ministers, appoints 7 others. Reassigns portfolios to 10. It says, cabinet still overbloated, and that's a message from CSOs. Lean government workforce will cut wastes, says ex-permanent secretary, and also will attempt, or resist attempt, rather, to scrap Niger Delta Ministry. And you thought there was going to be reactions to that.
Of course.
But it's a good time to question the relevance of the Niger Delta Ministry and what really has done for the Niger Delta, including, of course, you know, the relevance of the, there's a new board on the NDDC. So I think we can still give them a bit of time to see, you know, how far they travel. They've been doing quite a bit. Jigawa tanker explosion, we lost 50 relatives. Federal government withdraws money laundering charges against Binance executive. And also Emirates Sanusi to Turban elder's son, Chiloman Kanu. External reserves hit $40 billion as Nigeria targets $1 billion monthly inflow. I think these are the major stories that we can take. Federal government gives Julius Berger ultimatum on Abuja-Kaduna Kanu Road. All
right, let's move over from that to the Punch newspaper. On the front page of the Punch, private sector opposition split as Tinubu reshuffles cabinet. OPS backs Tinubu as opposition. CSOs Nigerians demand sacking of more underperforming ministers. President fires 5, appoints 7, reassigns 10 ministers as federal government merges, scraps ministries. FEC okay $618 million loan for fighter jets ammunition. Canadian lady jailed 11 years for importing 35.20 kg worth of cannabis. Oya Dam, Ogun communities reject Abiodun's relocation advisory. Dangote refinery begins direct petrol sale to marketers. 12 states delay 30,000 naira minimum wage for teachers, according to report. Diaspora Nigerians get non-resident BVN platform by December. Interesting. And that's according to Cardoso. 2 stories before we move on. Makinde rally support for Ajayi, says election will shock APC, and Ayedatiwa, whose voters declares PDP umbrella finally torn. What a line. Let's get to the conversation proper and bring in Christ Kehinde Nwandu. So many stories, but of course we'll begin with the ministers, the rejigging of the cabinet, the firing and the rehiring. There are those who say that, I mean, on the front page of the Punch, as you can see, it does say that they're demanding sacking of more underperforming ministers. There are those who think that the list isn't incomplete. So from where you stand, looking at this list, are you okay with the list? Are you first of all happy with the firing and the hiring and the reshuffling? And are you okay with the list as is?
Well, as they say in local parlance, at all.
Nine bad part.
Nine bad. So we commend the president for the cabinet reshuffle. He has been promising this for some time now, and finally we are here. Why I'm commending is that this is a clear departure from what we had from the last regime. Because if you know the 8 years of Muhammad Buhari and the way he kept ministers, despite the outcry by Nigerians on most of the ministers not performing, the former president will just use cutting just stuffed his ears and refused to listen to anybody. So most of them that were in that cabinet had nothing doing for at least for the period that they were there. So the president came out yesterday and announced the reshuffling of the cabinet. Some were asked to go. The spokesperson of the president, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, said we shouldn't be calling it sack. That they were not sacked. No, that they were relieved of their position. And I don't know the difference between sack and yes. I watched him on a national TV yesterday on a program, and that was what he said. He said that saying that they were sacked was degrading. That so that they were relieved of their position. So I'm not a student of English.
It's giving subsidy and short form.
So that just it. But you ask yourself, some of those that were sacked or were relieved, according to Mr. Ononuga, when you look at the list, there are some people you will just look at and say, yes, they deserve to go.
E.g.
And you don't need to ask me, because about 3 weeks ago, you were asking me about the Minister of Women Affairs on this, where we sat down here. No, it was you. It was you that specifically.
Yeah,
it was you. Remember. It wasn't him. It was you. I remember. You know, and I believe that, yes, the woman was a total embarrassment to this government and to Nigerians because of she had the opportunity to be able to better the life of women in her advocacy and all, but most of her actions or inactions leading to, and you can start from, there are so many of them, starting from the time she said she was going to sue the UN. You remember she started by saying she would sue the UN. They went to the University of Calabar scandal, sex scandal, so many things that the way she was bumping into events, saying that she has the approval of President.
I see some people's reaction to her that some people say, oh, that the issue is because Nigerians don't like people that are strict, that she's probably very harsh or not refined with her approach, but that she was actually working. And once you are working and you're being firm with Nigerians, they don't like it.
When you are in my place, they say when you ask to go and abuse a king, you go to the king. When you get there, you open your mouth wide to abuse the king. But as I said, for me, I think that she just had to go. Then the second one is also the Minister of Education, who probably didn't know his job schedule. A professor, a former vice chancellor, they were bringing all sorts of controversy into the system, education system. Instead of advancing it, it was creating more problems. That for me. But I still believe that there are some others that we thought, in fact, some that we thought would have been within a hierarchy of those that would be sacked. But probably in the president's wisdom, he didn't touch them, whether they're untouchable or not. But let's see how it goes. And also the rejigging, moving ministers from one portfolio to the other. Let's see how it's going to go. Because for me, this is the second, I would say this is the second baton, you know, on the race. When you have what do you call it now? Not marathon, you know, the one that pass baton, like what's that one again? Relay. So this is the second baton of the relay. Let's see whether they'll be able to deliver. But this government have not been able to deliver. 16 months, most of the promises, in fact, practically all the promises they made to Nigeria. I was also looking at the economic angle, irrespective of whatever anybody says. Those that are managing the economy, including the Minister of Finance, for me, have been very disappointed, including the governor of the Central Bank. That is my personal opinion. I may be wrong, but...
I mean, I mostly just...
And also the minister, then, sorry, before I forget, the one that is more paramount to me, the Minister of Petroleum is supposed to have sacked himself.
I was about to ask, like... The
Minister of Petroleum was supposed to have sacked himself. The Minister of Petroleum is the president. We have been saying it time and time again, it's high time he just remove his hand from that minister and give it to somebody that is competent. So between him and his Minister of Petroleum states, yeah, both of them need to have been sacked.
And what of the Minister of Power?
That's what I'm saying. I said there are some people that are supposed to be within the hierarchy. And the Minister of Power, when you say 1, 2, 3, in terms of order, Minister of Power, number 1, Minister of Petroleum, number 2, Minister of State Petroleum, I mean the President. I'm not saying sack the President, I said the Minister, who is the President, number 2, Minister of State Petroleum, number 3. Then we can start coming, going there. But I didn't see those ones being touched.
But I mean, the things that I'm continuing to point out is, you know, questioning the reason these people were picked in the first place. Was it because of their capacity? You know, and their, you know, the expectations that they will be able to deliver on the administration's agenda?
No, it's not.
So, I mean, so because if that's not the case, then you can't necessarily say that they have failed. Because you need to know what they were, you know, the reason these people were picked in the first place.
So let me get you there. The buck stops on the table of the president.
Absolutely.
He hires and fires. It is not for me to question why he picked anybody he picked. That is his discretion. The Constitution has given him that right. But you have to understand that in politics, especially the way we play politics, there is always that undertone for compensation, compensating people that helped you in winning election, here and there, pressure here and there. The president, as is normally say, most of the time want to use 1 year to be able to sit down because he's just coming to the office newly, and he just believes that. Don't forget that most of them were not nominated by the president. Most of them come from the state. Governors nominate them, the party nominates them, and the rest of them. The president, most often than not. It is only few people that have been on the saddle, and probably a person like President Olusegun Obasanjo, who from day one knew what he wanted, irrespective of what, and he said it, irrespective of whatever you contributed to my election, let me do this job. And he sat down to do it. I was able to do it at least effectively to a large extent. But every other person, including Yaradua, including Goodluck Jonathan, then to Buhari, which was even Buhari, the worst president we ever had in this country, then to Tinubu. So probably Tinubu can now look everybody in the face and say, I have a job to do, and Nigerians are going to hold me responsible for if I don't get this job done, and this is where I want to go. So let us see what is going to happen. Yeah, this is a fresh start. That's why I say it's a second battle. This is a second battle. So whether
16 months into, I mean, so just below 2 years. So he has about another 2 years.
He has spent almost 40% of his time.
With this argument now, if these new sets start, they have just slightly above 2 years to be able to achieve something under the current administration if he doesn't win re-election.
Yeah, well,
so shouldn't he have made the right decisions from start?
The question you have to ask yourself is that he has gone ahead to set up, appoint somebody who has been given a KPI, who has to benchmark all the ministers and look at their performance. And that is why I was just wondering yesterday when I saw this, is this what Usman was able to do? Is this the best you could get? Of all even we that are at the outside, we know what is happening. So what parameter did she use? Because it has been squarely put on her table that she was the one that marked the script and decided to make recommendations based on it. But what we have is still the old story as far as I'm concerned. These guys cannot fly, except for one or two of them. We said in retirement, first and foremost, while we're also talking of the bad eggs or the bad apples, let us also do someone like the Minister of Aviation. Fantastic, he has been doing a good job. And that was why I've always said that you don't need somebody to be very, very vast in a particular subject matter to be able to deliver. First of all, Keyamo is a lawyer. He has no experience in aviation, but you see what he has done. We've talked of the guy at the Interior Ministry. Yes, even the man that is now becoming, I don't know what to call him, a warlord or a lord in Abuja, the FCT minister. Yes, that is not turning himself to problem. The Minister of FCT. Minister of FCT, who is practically turning himself into an emperor with the kind of. But he's delivered. I just came back from Abuja last week, and I've seen a lot of improvement within the infrastructure in Abuja in the last 1 year. So those ones are delivered. But nature of everything.
In fact, we can
which was marine? Which one?
Blue economy.
Where is the blue? Which blue? Baba blue or which of the blues? Can we move on?
Mami water.
Yeah, Mami water.
Okay, we'll probably come back to this, the conversation about the ministers. But there's a story.
I'm sorry, let's go.
There's a story I don't want us to miss here. On the front page of the Punch.
Yeah.
Dangote refinery begins direct petrol sale to marketers. Is that good news? Especially because Dangote and marketers, they've been in the news, I mean, for the past few weeks. We've seen marketers talking about how Dangote, NNPC says that they've ended their agreement to Dangote, but yet they've not been able to lift off from Dangote. But this is looking like good news, right?
I don't want to be optimistic.
Here,
I don't want to be optimistic because the Dangote refinery, my hope was dashed totally because the expectation was so high from every Nigerian that this was going to be the game changer for us. That once Dangote Petroleum comes on stream, all our energy problem was going to be a thing of the past. But what have we seen? Instead of becoming a solution, it's becoming a problem for us because in the last 1 month or thereabouts, the prices of petroleum have gone up by 3 times. 3 times that was increased. Then the second part was the fact that even NNPC that was saying that they were buying petroleum from Dangote came out to tell Nigerians how much Dangote sold fuel to them, petrol to them, 889 naira per liter. Dangote said it was a lie. Nigerians are asking that question. How much did you see? How much? Now you say you know how much you said. Till today they have refused to. He has gone further than that. The most shocking one was what happened last week, when we read on what we heard, and what it was not even alleged because they admitted to it that Dangote has sued NNPC and about 5 other private marketers.
Yeah.
But the good news to that, they've said that it's not a fresh suit, and that by January
it was September, and relax. Let me just finish.
16th.
What if that they sued them to stop importing petroleum products?
Yeah.
In what part of the world is that done? Even in China, even in communist countries.
Yeah.
Where will anybody want to have a monopoly on a product like petrol? It's part of the PIA. He said he's talking about which section of the PIA stated that petroleum product. Okay, let us even go further. It has now been realized that, and it is said that even Dangote cannot meet the demands, that the money that has been paid by marketers to that Dangote cannot even meet that. So what are we talking about? So when you're talking of opportunism, we were told that by the 1st of October, that the naira to crude will become effective, and that Dangote will be buying crude with naira, no longer dollars. Between then and now, I know that NNPC has said that they've supplied them. How has the prices come down? We've been told again that in the next few days, expect another rise in petrol. So when you ask my optimism, I'm a very, very strong pessimist when it comes to this issue, until we are proven otherwise. Okay.
Well, I mean, the next couple of months, we probably would see, these questions answered, and of course, some better understanding of where we are. Quickly share your thoughts on the Binance controversy. The court orders the release of Gambaryan from prison as the federal government drops criminal charges against him. The charge against Binance still stays?
I know, I personally feel like to get to this. I know he's going to get to this. Because from the onset, we dropped the ball. We dropped the ball when somebody that was supposed to be in our custody, the main CEO of Binance, was allowed to go and have a Friday prayer. Somebody that was in detention, they allowed him to go and have a Friday prayer. And from there, the man disappeared into 2N. He went through our international airports, got his biodata, and they allowed him to fly out of the country. You are leaving the head. You are leaving a headache. You are running after lapa, as we say in Yoruba. The boy, this one is just an errand boy. He's not the main person. And that has been the case. So consistently, across board, you come to realize that to a point we're just chasing shadows. Until it's just like what is happening within our oil industry. We're talking of oil theft, and every day we go and discuss certain small distance. Meanwhile, we know the big players in the industry, those that are stealing, those that are bringing big vessels to our shore to steal. You see some of those ships, those vessels, some of them carry as much as about 3 million liters of crude oil. They steal from our point, and they go through the sea, and they disappear. And every day we are running after people that are refining. I'm not in support of what some of those young guys. If you understand what I'm trying to say, they refine 5,000 liters, 500 liters. But at the end of the day, somebody come with a big ship, put its anchor in the middle of the sea, then continue to. It takes from the research. At times it takes almost 1 month to be able to load those 3 million barrel of oil ships. Of crude oil. But till today, nobody has been arrested. The big boys have not been arrested. So that's the same thing happening. The guy is having some issues, I think, with his head. The last time I saw him, you saw he was moving around, whether he was pretending because it is in this country.
EFCC has now admitted that they've been treating him, but they're not able to manage it as much, that he can't stand, he's still using the wheelchair. So I think the question is, why? I don't know how I feel about it. I feel that if, for example, and I hope that New Central never has to be in that position, that New Central is in the wrong, or an organization is in the wrong for whatever reason, you picking one staff of the organization and holding that staff of the organization, is that the right way to go about it, right? And then even when the person starts to ask for medical help, they could see whether he's lying or not is not our business.
Yeah.
You could see that this person is struggling to stand. Yeah. If a Nigerian citizen was treated that way abroad, we would be happy with that.
I totally agree with you, because as I said, because I even saw the guy was coming out of the court and he was asking a prison officer to please
support him.
Just support me. And the guy just said, "Now you used to be all those kind of," in the full glare of the. So anybody, that is fundamental. His fundamental human rights is being snapped on board. So I think that the judge was right by asking that. I would have thought that the judge would have said, "Okay, go and give him adequate treatment. anywhere you can find it in the country. We still have hospitals in this country that can treat any ailment. If they can't find in Abuja, they can come to Lagos. We have so many of it. That is my personal opinion. But in the wisdom of the judge, our authorities have dropped the ball, and probably the life of the guy was at stake. And not only that, don't also forget that they say some level of diplomacy also came into play. I think he's a British. I don't know where he came from. But the fact is that we have dropped the ball, and I just see that. Then they say the case will continue. With who now? I don't know who are they going to prosecute? Or who are they?
They can still have a case against Binance. Yeah, I think
we are not the only country that have had issue with Binance. There are some countries, I think India, China, some countries have had India, and they've extracted some certain amount from Binance, and they've paid. Why is our own very, 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 very difficult to handle? And that's that is the issue.
Prove our case. It's not simply having a case. You need to be able to prove your case. I think some of the allegations back then, made it sound like Binance was responsible somehow, some way for, our currency issues and our exchange rate issues, back then.
Part of our problem is always policy direction. You saw the problem we had with crypto.
Yes.
Where the CBN came out and blah, blah. Crypto is not thriving. They have now recognized crypto again as a means of transaction. So what are we talking about? But for me, I think that issue was not properly handled. And if the court in its wisdom has said that he should be allowed to go and should be treated, then that is what the court has said. If you have anything against it, then you go to appeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we're talking about there was an issue that you raised on that, and that was also the issue. I totally support the idea of scrapping the Minister of Nigeria. I totally support it. Because I've seen that ministry is more like a pipeline through which a lot of people are just taking money. Go and look at the Niger data. And within the period that the Minister of Niger data, go and ask yourself, what has been achieved? I start to be corrected. Go and see what have they done. So I personally believe that is a right stroke for me. Whatever anybody says, the clerk or whoever is working. Now we have a ministry that has been saddled with the responsibility of developing every part of the country. We now have 6 what do they call them, development commissions, yes, as it were. Then let's see how we go with that. If we need to pump in more, not also forget that. Let me land on this. Not also forget that we also have derivation funds.
Yeah, I was about to point that out.
Yes, we have 13% derivation for to the oil producing states. Yeah. So what happened to it? So you have 13% derivation fund. You are creating a Ministry of Niger Data. You're also creating an NDDC again.
It's not just the Ministry of Niger Delta that has failed.
Yes.
It's generally, everybody who has held managerial position in any level concerning Niger Delta has failed, including governors.
Let me even put it. Have you forgotten off the mic?
Yeah, I mean,
have you guys? We easily forget in this country. That was a period where the finances of the NDDC and Niger Data was being proved at the National Assembly, and somebody decided to just be choking and just told us that he fainted, and that was the end of that.
But it's pretty much the same thing. This is the reason. Because I keep arguing that if we don't see that we're actually doing things different, don't expect any different result. Because even if you set up a new ministry to handle these development commissions, there's the Northeast Development Commission, there's going to be, I think Southwest is already...
There's Southwest, there's Southeast. Yes.
And if we do not see that the thinking is different, the attitude is different, the steps that have been taken are different, nothing is going to change. It's going to just be like
let me tell you where the problem is. Our problem on some of these issues, especially like issues like this, is National Assembly. They are one of their job is oversight on the executive and issue of project, following the money. So money was budgeted for this project. Now, can you show us line by line? Of course, those are item project. They are items. Oh, I'm going to do so this thing. They said the money. So. Have you been able to follow it one by and going on oversight and making sure that those money that were voted for those projects were utilized for those? But what do? They call for a hearing and the rest of them, get their Ghana must go and get fed and decide to just let go. When people are talking as the salary of members of National Assembly is 12 million and they come there with it, I laugh. That is not where they're making their money. Yeah. All of us know where they're making their money.
Anyway, we need to go. Thank you very much, CKN, for stopping by and sharing your thoughts with us on these stories. And wish you a very interesting day ahead.
To our viewers.